On today's episode, the Pacers go 2-0 in New York as Kam Jones has a step back three with 10 seconds left in the game against the Brooklyn Nets to win 115 to 110. And several players had key performances in this game. Taelon Peter had a career high. Ethan Thompson had a career high. Micah Potter had a monster double-double off the bench. And I'll go over how we won this game, what players really stood out, if it was good for us to win this game, considering we just won 2 games in a row, and how we need the highest lottery odds as possible. And I also want to go over what Rick Carlisle said about Kobe Brown after the Knicks game, some of the things he said in the press conference. And then also, we heard from Ivica Zubac and what his new role could possibly be with the team, what Rick Carlisle and the coaching staff is wanting him to do whenever he joins the team. But all that is coming up next on the Pacer Pulse podcast. What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome to the Pacer Pulse podcast, the heartbeat of Indiana basketball. I'm your host, Sean Trader, and today, guys, I'm going to cover how the Pacers just beat the Brooklyn Nets 115 to 110 off of a beautiful step back three from Kam Jones, who he hit this with like 10 seconds left in the game, guys, and then Micah Potter got fouled, hit 2 free throws to make it 115, but really, Kam Jones won us this game off that shot. And it's funny because he was literally 0 for 5 from the three-point line until that three-point shot. So it was just kind of crazy to see that he hit that three-pointer to win the game. Of course, not the result we really want because we want the highest lottery odds, but all in all, it was an awesome shot. It was kind of cool to see, and games like this are really interesting to me because we get to see the full-blown development of a lot of these players, right? Because we sat out Nembhard, we sat out Siakam, Neesmith, TJ. It was one of those classic like tank job games. Basically a tank off against the Nets this game because we sat out all the best players. So Kam Jones got the start. Kobe Brown got the start too. His first career start, I think, in his entire career, which is crazy. And I also want to dive into like what he's provided with the team since he's been with the team so far. But all in all, I think what really helped us win this game today, guys, was the Pacers started off really awful on offense. Like, it was so disjointed and just so discombobulated. There wasn't much, like, what do you want to call it, flow, or just we weren't playing with that same type of pace. And you would expect that because a lot of these guys just don't play together or they don't play a ton of minutes in general. So after the first quarter, we scored 18 points, and the Nets, I think they scored about 30 or so. We get outscored quite a bit in the first quarter. But then after that, we really answered it, and we scored 35 in the second quarter, 31 in the third quarter, and 31 in the fourth. And we outscored the Nets by quite a bit in every quarter besides the first. So I think that's really what determined this game, too. I thought we really got our offensive flow throughout this game where we really started moving the ball pretty well. And that's encouraging to see because it was from a lot of our bench guys where it just, you kind of saw the Pacer system kind of permeate throughout this whole roster this game. It's kind of like what I was seeing. I was really impressed with the Kam Jones passing, even though he had some rough turnovers there towards the end too. Throughout this game, I thought he took like very good control of the ball throughout this game. But I also thought that we really capitalized off turnovers too. So the Nets, they finished with 17 turnovers, and we scored 20 points off those turnovers. So we really took advantage in that regard. And whenever games are this close, it really comes down to the margins and just some of these things where you just really matter in these kind of wins because they out-rebounded us by 5, but it was close. Offensive rebounds were pretty even too. They offensive rebounded us by like 3 rebounds. And then the bench points, we actually beat them pretty badly, 57 to 35, but I'll get to why in a second. And then we shot really well from the field, 49% from the field and 36% from 3. It was just good to see like a lot of these guys step up and perform today in this game because we seen it against Detroit whenever we kind of first started our tanking. That one time when like Kam Jones played 30 plus minutes and a lot of these bench guys or G League guys are playing a ton of minutes. We scored like 40 or like I think 20 to 30 points in the whole first half. It was something astronomically low. So if you guys remember that game, this game was just like a far step ahead of like what that was, considering how bad that game was historically, I would say. So I think that us really like picking up our offense, and then obviously like our defense really stepped it up the last 2 quarters as well. We held the Nets to 26 points in the third quarter and 20 in the fourth. So I think really just stepping it up big time in the fourth quarter, locking them down to only 20 points in the fourth was huge and just showed our progression we made throughout the game. And that's what you want to see from a lot of these young guys that play, because we saw the Ethan Thompsons, we saw the Taelon Peters, we saw the Kam Joneses, the Kobe Browns, Jarris Walker, of course. I mean, just all those kind of guys that really played a ton of minutes this game. So as much as we didn't want this result, I think it's nice that we saw like some pretty good development from our young guys this game. So I want to start off with some players that stood out in this game. So Kam Jones. So I know that the stats don't jump off the page, right? He had 11 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists, but he had 4 turnovers, 5 of 12 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, and he was a -7 plus minus, but I think you're starting to see him be a lot more comfortable out there on the court. And I kind of saw a lot of this in the Knicks game too, where it just seemed like he seemed more confident in like what he was doing. You could just tell he's starting to get more comfortable on the court as he gets more playing time, especially as the rest of the season goes on. Rick has already said that he's going to get plenty of opportunity the rest of this season. So it was really encouraging to see that you can just start to see his comfort level start to get there. And I really do think he held like a really good floor game this game, where I thought he took very good control of the ball, even though he had 4 turnovers. A lot of those came in like the last couple minutes, which I get was like crucial time. But I thought all in all, he was really moving the ball pretty well. I think he could have had more assists this game too, guys. If guys just were like hitting their shots or like finished some of the shots that he passed to him. But I've been very impressed by his like him just taking care of the ball and like moving the ball the way he has, because it's not like he's making flashy passes, but he makes the right passes. And something I've also kind of noticed with his game lately too is he's really able to get into the paint, which he's not like the quickest player. He's not like the fastest player, the most athletic, but just the way he's able to be kind of shifty in his movement. I don't know how else to really put it, but he's really able to like move in a way where he's able to just manipulate his way into the paint a lot of times. And even if he's not getting so far deep into the paint, it's such a great thing to be able to do where you're able to get into the paint, kick it out to like a open 3-pointer or like a cutter that's cutting to like from the baseline or from the mid post area. It just opens up the floor a lot more, and it even creates a shot for him possibly if he's got nobody on him really. And I also wanted to highlight how he's got some pretty like crafty finishes inside. He has this crazy like left-handed like hook shot almost layup. I don't know what else you really call it, but it's like a scooping hook shot almost that he can kind of hit at a decent clip that we've seen him hit a few times already in his career. It's just a very unique shot. It reminds me almost of like how TJ's mid-range shot is so like unique in the NBA right now. I just feel like Kam, that's what it reminds me of. It's such a unique looking shot. And I always get so surprised that it goes in because it looks like he's heavily contested, but he's able to just throw it up in there and it goes in. So I think he's shown like some pretty good touch around the basket. So I really think just the big thing that's really holding him back right now is this 3-point shot, which he took some shots at like the end of the shot clock or some like rough threes like in that regard. But all in all, I think if he could really improve that 3-point shot, I think it's really going to open up his game even more, where he's going to be able to get to the lane even more, create more opportunities, and just create more opportunities for his teammates or for his own shot. I think it's going to really open up his game. And so I'm not trying to talk him up like he's going to be some all-star player, but I think he could potentially be a really good backup point guard in the league, because I think he's shown like a pretty solid ability on the defensive end too, way more than I ever expected from him, because he's able to really shift his feet, move his feet around, really stay in front of guys a lot more than I thought he was ever going to be able to do, quite honestly. So it's been a pretty awesome like development and surprise on the Kam Jones front, and I'm excited to see more throughout this season. But that's all I'm going to say about Kam Jones. But I just want to say I think he's been playing with a lot more confidence, and I love the way he kind of takes care of the ball. And even though he had the 4 turnovers, if you get what I'm saying. But I also love the clutch 3-point shot that he hit tonight, the step back 3. Just the fact he's even kind of got that move in his arsenal is encouraging. So I think he's someone that we definitely want to keep around and just see where he can develop, because he didn't even play like point guard till his senior year of college, guys. And the fact that he kind of moves the ball the way he does, has that kind of control of the game, it's very encouraging to see. So some other guys that had career nights. I mean, Kam Jones didn't, but some other guys that had career nights. Ethan Thompson, he finished with like 15 points this game. He was really on fire from 3, then just finishing inside. which I think he was averaging like 29 points in the G League before he joined our team. So he's definitely a natural bucket getter. And it was easily like his best game that we've had with the Pacers so far. So it was awesome to see him really perform at a high level. And then Taelon Peter, 14 points. He had like 4 threes this game. His best game. He also led the team in plus minus. So really wanted to shout him out. He was really sniping them in from three, from deep a few times too. It was really impressive. So if he can continue to hone in that 3-point shot, I think he can carve out a niche in this league where he's kind of showed like some ability on the defensive end too. Like he's at least going to fight hard. So I like his kind of like 3-and-D-ish type potential, even if he's a point guard, essentially. He's a smaller guard, but I think he's got maybe a place in the league, even if it's kind of on the... He's not going to be in the main rotation, don't get me wrong, but he's someone that we're going to be able to keep around and develop, and maybe he turns into something more. And then Micah Potter finished with 19 points, 12 rebounds. He was a monster on the glass and just finishing inside. He had a few mean dunks this game. Even Quentin Jackson had a monster dunk this game too. It was unbelievable. And then J.R. Walker had a nice dunk. But all in all, like Micah Potter was solid tonight, 19 and 12. He was 1 of 2 from 3. So shot it decently well, not a high clip, but he did a lot of his damage inside and at the free throw line, 6 of 8 from the free throw line. So I thought he had like a pretty solid all-around game. And then J.R. Walker finished with 23, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. So I'm highlighting a bunch of guys here because a lot of guys played pretty well. So I usually don't try to keep it to this many players, but a lot of these guys did well. But J.R.'s 23 points, 9 of 18 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. He was a -8 in this game, the worst plus minus, so I think his defense was pretty bad this game. And he did have 2 turnovers, which didn't lead the team, but still, I'm still like, I'm not fully bought into the fact that Jarris can fully replace like a Matherin's offensive production off the bench. I don't know if that's like a hope for Pacer Nation or if that's what the team is hoping for, but maybe that's not even the expectation. Maybe I'm falsely placing that on him. But I've heard it like in a few different places where maybe people think that he could potentially fill that void, but I just don't think he's that type of scorer. Or I have to see it for a longer period of time. It's only been like a month and a half where he's really played this well, so I really want to see if he can continue this through the rest of the season. And if so, then I'll clearly just eat my words and I'll say, hey, he can be that type of guy off the bench that we need. But it's still to be determined in my eyes, but it's awesome to see that he has really drastically improved his game. Even if he's kind of like slipped a little bit lately, I would say, because he didn't play against the Knicks, but the game before that, he had a pretty rough game. This game, he kind of had to score. I mean, he was the main guy, I would say, on our team, so he was going to have to be the one to be the bucket getter, but I thought he played okay tonight, even though the plus minus doesn't show that he did, but it wasn't very like standoutish play. Like all these other guys I mentioned before him played better than him, so but I did want to highlight he had a decent offensive game. And then Kobe Brown, I wanted to kind of touch on him because he had 4 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He played 28 minutes tonight. He was about 2 of 5 from the field, 0 of 1 from 3, but he was a plus 11. So one of the best plus minuses on the team in the top 3. And if you guys watched the Knicks game or saw the stats in that box score, he led the team in plus minus that game. So I watched the post-game press conference Rick Carlisle did after that game. And I've been very interested because obviously Kobe Brown's a new addition to this team. It's only his second game. And he's really going to, I don't want to say benefit from the Johnny Furphy tearing his ACL. So it was heartbreaking to hear that, guys. Just to touch on that for a sec. Heartbreaking to hear. I wish nothing but the best for Furphy, and I hope he can come back a better player from this and come back stronger. And I'm really going to miss Furphy out there. I've been loving what I've seen from his development this year, and it just really sucks to see that he's going to miss a lot of time now, guys. And he could potentially miss all the way up until like halfway point of next year now, if it takes him a year to recover. So it's just very unfortunate news, but for Kobe Brown, this presents him a lot of opportunity to be able to play a lot more, because he did not get that with the Clippers, really. From what I've gathered so far, but let me dive into, before I get to that, let me dive into like what I was saying with Rick's thoughts on Kobe Brown, especially after that game and just what he's seen so far. So these are kind of just some quotes that I gathered from Rick Carlisle after that game, where he talked about how Kobe Brown played great, was the biggest plus on the team. He's an interesting player, does a lot of good things, and that's something I was about to dive into before I got into this. I think Kobe Brown is one of those, he's not amazing at anything, and I don't want to say that in a bad way, but he can do just about a little bit of everything well. And I think those guys have a place in the league. If it's going to be with us, it's to be determined still. It's only been 2 games, but I've liked what I've seen where I think he's a decent finisher inside. He can move pretty well. I think he moves his feet decently well. I think he does struggle with fouling a lot. So maybe he needs to learn how to defend better without fouling. But I do think he is able to stay in front of guys decently, and he's able to hold his own. He's a bigger guy. He rebounds well. He's like a decent passer, I think. He's not making crazy passes, but I've also been impressed kind of with his ball movement when he's been out there. And I think he's going to be able to be a versatile defender as well in the league. If he could stick in the league, I think the one thing he really does need to fix is his 3-point shot. We've seen him hit one against the Knicks, and it actually looked kind of smooth. It was from the corner, so we really got to see how that develops, and he's going to get plenty of opportunity the rest of this season. So I think that we're going to have a lot of time to see what he can bring. But then Rick also said he brings offensive rebounding to the table, which is huge. We know that's one of our worst things as a team this year, where Ivica Zubac is going to be a major help in that regard, but we always get beat on the offensive glass, just like we did tonight. And that's such an important part of the game, too, for second chance opportunities. We've seen that with the Rockets this year, where it's really helped their offense and elevated their offense, just getting those second chance opportunities, because you never know what could become of those. And then he also said that he hit a nice three, and he had a nice drive, and he just thinks that Kobe Brown has a good feel for the game. And he just also ended on this, that great opportunity for him to come to us at this particular point in time, which makes sense because, like I said, with the Johnny Furphy injury, especially now, he's going to be asked to play quite a bit, guys. So I think it's just a very interesting subplot for the rest of this season, even if I don't think it's going to amount to like a lot. I just think it's something that Pacer Nation can kind of keep an eye out on and see how he develops through the rest of this season. Because, like, why not? We're not trying to win games, really, even though the last 2 games kind of say otherwise. But I do think that it's going to be interesting to see. I do think that he might have a little untapped potential. He's 26 years old, though, so he is kind of what he is, I would say. He was kind of a late bloomer in college. He played until his senior year, I think, from what I heard, right? Makes sense because of his age, but maybe we could tap into something with him, guys, and we can find something. Maybe he can at least stick with the team until Furphy can come back next year. But I'm not sure I'm going to be holding my breath that he's actually with the team past this season. But all in all, a guy to keep an eye on, kind of like with Kam Jones, some of these other guys. Maybe Taelon Peter gets some more burn. It was exciting to see him knock down some threes this game. So that's all I'm going to cover with the game, guys. Do I think that it means anything winning these 2 games? Kind of, because we got to start losing. I mean, I know we tried this game. We literally tried. We sat out all the guys. I mean, none of our top guys played. So it's not like we didn't try everything. And I'm excited that Kam Jones hit that shot. I think it's awesome for his young career. I was really hoping for a loss. And then I think we all were hoping for that against the Knicks, as much as we all don't like the Knicks, I think we would have liked to see the loss still. So now we're tied with the Brooklyn Nets, and the Washington Wizards are now the worst team in the East. I know it's all close. They've won 14 games. We won 15. And the Kings have won 12. So we're definitely in that 1 through 5 range right now, guys. And so it's going to get into scary territory at some point if we don't really prioritize the losing. I still want to see Zubac on the floor, though, at some point, which is going to lead me into my next and final topic of this podcast, guys, where I want to talk about Zubac's introductory press conference. So it was kind of a weird setup. They did it like Zoom, I think, because they just did it when he was in Brooklyn. So they had just a mobile backdrop behind him. It was just kind of funny. It's not really something I think I've seen before, at least for a long time. But I get why they wanted to talk to him and just kind of get that introduction out of the way. But some of the things he touched on I thought were very interesting. So they asked him a bunch of questions. So one of the questions was, have you talked to the coaching staff and what do they want from you? Something like that, along those lines of what do they expect you to do? What do they want from you coming into the Pacers? And, they always ask the classic spacing questions and whatnot. But Zubac's answer was very interesting to me. So he said that Rick plans to use Zubac or use him in the corner instead of the dunker spot. So I guess I'm assuming he means in the 3-point corner to try and maximize the spacing. So they still want to have that spacing element, the Pacers do, which I understand because that's what's worked for them. It's what helps their system. But then I'm just interested to see how this works because Zubac has played in the dunker spot basically his entire 10-year career in the NBA. And he even said that during the press conference. He's like, for pretty much my entire career, the entire time I've been in the league, I've been in the dunker spot. So clearly he knows what the dunker spot is. He knows how to play in that. And obviously he's elite in that because he was an all NBA player almost last season. He's such a good efficient player in the post and in that dunker spot in general. One of the best in the league, I would say. So you can tell he really has maximized his time there and just really has honed that spot from all the years playing in that dunker spot. But I do think that it's going to be interesting. And he did say he thinks he can shoot that shot, especially from 3-point line. He just never has been given that opportunity, essentially. So I'm interested to see if the coaching staff is going to be like, hey, let it fly from 3. If you're open, we want you to shoot it. So I think what Pacer Nation, I think we got to temper our expectations a little bit based off this information. Is he's going to have to come in, learn a new system, learn a completely different spot that he's never played in before, probably his entire life, guys, because he's a monster of a human. So, like, of course, he's always going to be in the dunker spot because that's where he's going to excel, and he always has. It's just, I think we're going to see some rough games from Zubac if that's the case, but I also think it's all for the sake of development and seeing where this team can go. Because I do understand why they want more space. They want Siakam to be able to operate inside, have more driving lanes for Halliburton, Nembhard, Neesmith, even different guys on this team to have as much open space as possible to be able to just drive and kick and do different things like that, run our random actions and motions that we do. I understand it from that point of view. I do hope they utilize him in the pick and roll, which I think they obviously will. They know he's like probably top 3 screen setter in the NBA. I just thought it was very interesting to see, and I was very kind of surprised by it. So I'm just curious to see if he's going to be able to shoot from 3. If he does, if the team like allows him to, and if he's able to even knock those down at a decent clip. And maybe because the corner is the shortest spot on the court, right? So maybe that's their thinking is maybe he's going to be able to hit it from that, at least be respectable. I don't know, guys. That's really going to be determined. But we're only going to see that once he actually gets on the court, which we're not sure when that's going to happen because he did say that he's getting more time for his ankle, so who knows when we'll actually see him out on the court, guys. But he did say that he is excited to play with Halliburton, which obviously so. I mean, the best passing point guard in the NBA, and he played with James Harden, excuse me. So he knows what it is like to kind of play with a primary playmaker, a guy that is going to get you open and just really find you in the right spots. And I think Halliburton is even better than James Harden. And James Harden's a great passer too, don't get me wrong. But I do think Halliburton's even better. And just the fact that he's going to play with a guy like that, I think we could see career years from Zubac next to Halliburton as long as we still play to his strengths as well. So I think it's like finding that balance. Of course, you want him to hopefully be able to stretch the floor, but we also want to play to his strengths in the dunker spot too. So maybe it depends on the lineups too. Maybe when he plays with Siakam, even though he's a 3-point shooter too, maybe because Siakam does like to operate in the mid post and like in the post a lot. Maybe like when he's starting with Siakam, he'll try to be out in the corner a lot more and like try to stretch the floor from there. And in certain moments playing the dunker spot, but then I would be interested to see how they stagger their minutes because maybe he plays with Obi Toppin a lot too. Where we know Obi doesn't play in the post. That's not really his game. He's like obviously a fast break weapon. He's a 3-point shooter. So maybe in that kind of lineup, I think a Zubac playing in the dunker spot makes a lot of sense because I think it just balances out more in that way. Where I think that they're going to definitely try to make sure they maximize Siakam still in that starting 5 and try to get Halliburton wide open lanes to the rim or like try to stretch the floor as much as possible. I just thought that was interesting. That's kind of where my mind went to where I was like, well, maybe they try to stagger it in that way too, where Zubac will be playing with Obi Toppin quite a bit too, maybe, just so we do play to a lot of Zubac's strengths as well. So that's just something I want to like kind of see and monitor it. Well, we're not going to be able to see that with Obi, of course, but just kind of see if that's where the team goes with this. If maybe they try it and it doesn't work and then they go back to it. Maybe it's not even something we see this year if Zubac doesn't play for most of this season and they just play him to his strengths and see how he looks on the court with our guys. It's all to be determined, guys. I think it's It's too soon to tell. Of course, we'll know a lot more once he actually finally suits up for the Pacers, but we don't even know when that's going to happen. So I don't think they're going to rush it, obviously, because we want a top pick, guys. We have to. We have to maximize our top 4 pick, and just that's got to be the main agenda, guys. That's all I can really say. But if you guys have noticed, I'm not filming in my normal spot. I'm traveling right now. I'm seeing family, so that's why I got the weird background behind me. It's different if you're watching this on YouTube. And as always, guys, if you could please leave a like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. I always appreciate it. I love talking to you guys about the team. Let me know what you guys thought about this game. What do you think about Zubac? Is it going to work with him playing in the corner, stretching it from 3? Are we going to let him shoot threes? What do you guys think of that statement that he made, and just your overall impressions of Kobe Brown, even Kam Jones? Just I want to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions and really converse and talk to you guys with that. And if you watch on YouTube, please watch on or listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well, and other listening platforms. It means a lot to me. It helps me grow this podcast channel and network. And you can please leave 5-star reviews on there. I greatly appreciate it. But all in all, guys, that's going to be the end of this episode. So I think we actually have the All-Star break coming up now. So I'll try to fill in some episodes during that meantime and maybe try to break down some more development games like that we've seen, or maybe like some improvements we've seen from Nimhard. I'll try to think of some episodes to fill in throughout the All-Star break. And while I'm here, I'm with my time with my family. But I can't thank you guys enough, Pacer. And I will talk to you soon.